Hello, and welcome to week 5, module 5 for Press Play on Your Podcast. We are officially over halfway through now, and this week's module is going to be a fun one of my favorite parts of podcasting, one of my most favorite things that I get to do for my clients, and just to work in the podcasting space. And that is all about show notes, episode description, and the show notes. So I'm just going to go through kind of that process, kind of the format I use, just kind of talk about, like keywords, that kind of thing, just kind of like the process, and then just kind of what that looks like as far as like what I do for my clients, and just hopefully give you some best practices. And again, you don't have to do all of this, but whatever makes most sense for you and, for your show, for your however you view writing. I found a lot of ladies that I work with, they don't love writing. Some do more than others. They, of course, like love talking. That's why they're wanting to do their podcast. But the writing part, they're like, yeah, I don't want to do that a lot. But show notes are very important. They're definitely not something you should skip or just quickly like throw together. There is like kind of a process to them, I believe. So anyway, I'm going to go through that. And hopefully, like I said, I know we've covered a lot already. So I will definitely be checking in with you soon, just kind of see where you are with everything on the back end for launching your podcast. But we will go ahead and dive into the show notes module today. So I am just going to be looking at my notes. I'll be sharing my screen because I am going to show you some examples of some of the show notes that I do. Like I said, I'll show you some recent ones I've done for some of my clients. But when it comes to your show notes, you really want to think about, and I say this, like, you don't have to get wrapped up in like keywords and that kind of thing, but you definitely want to have, honestly, even before you record your episode, you want to have a keyword in mind, or key phrase, just so you know, kind of like, even if you don't know the exact title of what that episode is going to be before you record it, it's definitely helpful to know. I'm guessing most likely you're going to be having some kind of notes or at least some kind of bullet points when you're recording your episodes. You don't have to all the time, but again, obviously you're going to have an idea of what you're going to be talking about. So then when you are done recording, and when you go to write your show notes, you will have a good idea as far as like the title and what you actually want to have, in the show notes as far as what you want to include for your audience. So, and definitely whatever your like the name of your show is, that is something that should definitely obviously represent you and your podcast and business, everything really well. It doesn't, and I know we already talked about that, like with the title and show description, it doesn't need to be anything super unique or, like I said, just like super catchy or far out there or anything. It really just needs to be something that people are, again, that resonates with you, represents you and your business and podcast and is searchable. That is a huge thing. And it's definitely that applies to your show notes as well. So there are a couple of tools you can use. There's one just called Keyword Research. There are some paid tools out there. If I'm being totally honest, I don't use any of those right now. I always go off of whatever my clients, which I have some clients who they will have a title for their episode in mind already. A lot of them they don't. So after I'm done listening to their episode, whether I'm editing it or if I'm just writing show notes for, most of the time I'm editing it as well. But anyway, I will definitely make notes. I personally take notes while I'm editing, and whatever makes sense for you in your process. Again, whatever makes the most sense for you, but I always like make notes for it, and then I will, of course, piece everything together later, which again, I'll show you what that looks like. And then obviously, like so with your title, you want to make sure your keyword or key phrase is in your episode title, and that it should be in your show notes a couple times as well. And again, I will show you what that looks like soon. But if you do have questions about like any certain tools or anything like that that you want to use, definitely reach out. I know there are other ones as well. I just personally haven't found that I've really needed to use anything like that up to this point. I feel like my clients have seen good results they've been really happy with like with the show notes, with their titles and all of that. And we always go over that together. Obviously, if you're doing it yourself, it's just going to be you. But definitely, like I said, it should be something that you think people are searching about. And again, you can definitely do some of that yourself. Like even just type into Google, like kind of see what people are searching. Maybe kind of what comes up if it's something, whatever your episode topic is going to be. So if you have more questions about that, definitely let me know. But again, definitely something to be thinking about. You definitely want to have a good idea, even if you don't know the exact title of your episode before you record it, definitely have a good idea of, again, that keyword, key phrase that you're going to be talking about in your episode, because that has actually shown when you are talking about your episode and it is in like your episode description and show notes as well. Again, that all goes together when it comes to SEO purposes, which I'll be talking about that in a little bit too, but that stands for Standard Engine Optimization. So yeah, anyway, that is just kind of when you're first starting, when you are like wanting to, when you're going to be like recording your episodes. So I really just want to show you kind of some examples of episodes that I do. and then just kind of talk about, like I said, where the like what the title looks like, keywords, key phrase, the length, kind of the format, that kind of thing. I feel like that's easiest. And then I'll touch on a couple more things. What it can look like in the episode description, which is what shows up on any of the podcast players like Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, anything like that. And then I will show you an example on the website as well if you do have your website. Even if you don't have a website yet, I'm guessing you most likely do, but if for some reason you don't, a couple of these things you can definitely keep in mind for when you do have your website. So let me share my screen here real quick. Okay. It looks like you're seeing my screen. Hopefully you are. Okay, so I'm going to go to, okay, so this is an episode that I just did for a client, and her title, and I also will talk about a couple of tools that I use at the end for writing show notes and like doing the episode descriptions that I found to be really helpful. There's one in particular I'm using right now, so I'll go over that. But we title her episode "Navigating Busy Seasons and Staying Consistent with your fitness goals." It's always ideal if you have your keyword like more toward the beginning of the episode title, but if you don't, it's not a huge deal. So I went with staying consistent with your fitness goals. So kind of what I do with hers, these are a little bit lengthy. With her, I should say she doesn't have show notes on her website right now, at least they're not updated. That's something that we're working on. So all of this is going to show up in like an Apple Podcast and Spotify, wherever you're listening to your podcast. But basically, I like to pull some pieces from like the beginning of the episode, kind of what she's touching on, and I do this with all of my clients. All of them are like you do a similar format, but all of them, I do them kind of unique to that particular client too. It's not like a super cookie cutter approach anyway, if that makes sense. Um, so anyway, I kind of go like obviously pull some pieces from what that will be. And then just like I said, kind of like important takeaways and that kind of thing. And then usually have, like I said, usually about 2 to 3 paragraphs, again, short ones, because there is going to be a character limit in whatever, if you're using Buzzsprout or Captivate or whatever your host platform is. So, anyway, so that's kind of what that is. And then as far as one of the big things I like to do, which I do this for all of my clients, they really like it, is doing like key takeaways down here and doing like a bullet point. Like, you can also do timestamps as well. I actually do that for one of my client shows. I only do it for one right now. Most of my clients don't really care. But again, these are kind of like key points that you're talking about that you really want people to see. And again, I'm putting that key phrase, I'm actually doing the whole title there. But yeah, you just kind of want to write where, again, you're incorporating that keyword, key phrase throughout, like I said, in your title, throughout your description. And like I said, I do like doing this a takeaway as well, the episode takeaways. And then you also want to have, which hers is a little lengthy, so I'm going to show you another one in a moment as well. This is where you'll link any like resources where they can connect with your social media handle, website, email list, Facebook group, anything that you want them to know about and be able to click on from the episode that you talk about in the episode, or even if you don't, but you want them for sure to know about it, this is where you would list that out. So I do all of mine in Google Doc, and I can show you in Buzzsprout as well. Let me actually just show you that here real quick. And I will again show you another example in just a moment. So this is the one that I was talking about. This is what it looks like here in Buzzsprout. So again, those like 3 paragraphs and then the bulleted list. And then these are what we have with her is how to work with me. And then some of her courses and coaching, and then where to find with her to connect with her on Instagram, her Facebook group. And then she has like some like favorite things, like Amazon and that kind of thing. So that's, again, pretty much what I always like to do it in a Google Doc and then just copy it from there into the host platform. Like I said, whether you're using Buzzsprout or Captivate, they're pretty similar. So that is just one example. I want to show you another one for another client. And this is one client who she pretty much always has a title beforehand, which is helpful for me that's even a little more helpful for me when I am editing and writing the show notes, especially. So it's forming a strong connection with your child's nanny. And this was a guest episode, so we included a guest name. And I usually, so with her, she does one episode a month. So in this month's episode, we talk about kind of introduce the guest. With hers, just so it's not repetitive, I put this on her full show notes on her website for a little more length, which I will talk about that in just a moment, as far as like kind of the word links to aim for when you're doing them on your website, kind of best practices there. So this is not going to show up in like her host platform. So I have full show notes on website, so that's for myself. So this part and then this part here is going to show up in like in Captivate, which is where her podcast goes out. And this is just a guest bio. So this is really this is kind of lengthy. And then again, we're doing that episode, like the key takeaways from the episode. And again, I have in this episode about forming a strong connection with your child's nanny. Again, so I just have it a few places. So I try to aim to have it usually about 3 to 4 places between the title and in the show notes. So again, you just kind of find your writing style. Again, you don't have to aim for super lengthy. I enjoy writing. This is what so many of my clients are like paid me to do to help them with. So it is something I, really do focus on that maybe not other people do as much. But that is kind of what that looks like. And then again, so these are the complete show notes from her website, which I will show you what those look like here in just a moment. And then again, just linking the guest information, her information. So let me show you, I'll just click on it from here. Show you the example. And you can put that in Buzzsprout or Captivate, your host platform, so people can click on the full show notes. And if you have any special resources that you didn't want to put like in the, in Captivate or Buzzsprout, you can have them where you get them to your website, which is a really great idea because you do want to get them to your website anyway. So yeah, this is just episode 11 show notes, have the title up here. And then, so we just have all of that. Again, this is more, not all of this is going to be in, like I said, your host platform, which is Apple, Spotify. This is not everyone's going to be, it's not going to look like this in those. This is just on your website show notes. And this is the full show notes. And so this is kind of what we have. And then again, the resources and links. And then I also like to include the show description for, again, it adds for the length as well. So I will show you what hers looks like. Like if I'm going to go in and edit it, I actually already had it pulled up. So I'm just going to edit it here real quick. And depending on what your website is, hers, she has WordPress, and I'm pretty familiar with that. I've used pretty much all of the websites now, I think, different website hosts anyway. But anyway, this is her. So this is where we would put her title. This you can actually, for WordPress, you can actually do, if you search HTML, and you can actually copy it from the host platform. And actually, it's like you can embed the player onto here, which is really nice. Let me see if I can just show you that real quick, how to do that while I have it pulled up. Oh, hang on, I'm on a different one. To episodes. So I'm just going to go to, so actually, if you go to share episode, whether it's published or if it's not published yet, you can go to share episode, and then you just would click this. This is Captivate, but Buzzsprout is very similar. And you just copy that, and that's what you would copy onto your website, which is really cool. It would go in there, and then you preview it, and that's what it looks like. So yeah, and then you just input all of the information here. I do like to do, the title is a header 1. This is a header 2. Yes. And then, so again, it's going to be formatted like a blog post on your website, if that makes sense. So that's the biggest thing that's different from like the episode description and then the show notes on your website. And again, not everybody does show notes on their website, but it is just another place where, like I said, if you have a blog already, you're going to be used to that. But even if you don't, you can, like I said, do like a blog post from your podcast episodes, which is really, really cool. And I definitely recommend doing that. Like I said, even if you don't love writing, you can still just kind of do this format and just add to it a little bit more from what you're putting in your episode description, like that you're scheduling in your host platform. So yeah, and this is going to be header 3, and then again, your timestamps, and this is going to be header 3, the resources and links, again, any of your social media, website, anything that any offers you have going on, whether they're, evergreen offers or you have limited time offers, put them there. And then this is another header 3 where I have more about her podcast. This is where you could put that. And again, you want to aim for around 500 or 500 word length for your blog post. And I know we're definitely over that. I don't know what this one is, but I know it's definitely over that. Just for, like I said, for SEO purposes for overtime. So that's why I like adding the and a lot of the shows I probably wouldn't necessarily need the show description, but that's just kind of a good practice I like to do for all of them. Again, especially if somebody does land on their website and they like click on a particular episode, they can scroll down and like, oh, kind of learn more about it, And then over here is like the post. I don't know why that's okay. So normally it should have a focus key phrase and a slug. So I'm gonna go back to that because I should have that. That's kind of weird. Let me show another one here. 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 Let me sho Okay, so this one, it will give you actually some SEO, this Yoast SEO. This is again just for WordPress. But yeah, you can put in mark if you have a podcast, add any like tags, which again, that's what you're going to be doing in your host platform as well. And then you have a featured image, which depending on your website, whatever your size is, you can just have, it can be similar to your cover art or it can be something different. And yeah, that's kind of what that is. And then you can schedule it to go out. So then depending on your particular website, let me know because they are all kind of different. But that is just kind of what it looks like on your website. That's how it's different from, okay, you have a focus key phrase, which again, that's what you want your keyword key phrase. And then this is where you have like your slug and your description. That's kind of what shows up if someone finds it on Google. So you definitely want to fill all of that in. So yeah, that's pretty much that. I did want to show one more thing. Let me, hang on, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here real quick. I did want to show, let's see. Okay, I'm going to show one more, yeah, kind of one more episode that I do, and then show you a couple of um, tools that I use for show notes. One in particular, but a couple as well. So let me pull up, hang on just a second. Let me pull it up here real quick. Make sure this is a good one to show. Yeah, and again, this is going to be kind of similar to what I already showed you, but again, this is, share my screen again here real quick. This is a client where I do just show notes writing for. I don't do editing, I don't do scheduling, I don't do anything. I actually work with another podcast manager and I just do just the show notes writing. So, so up here we have our title, spoiler alert, there's nothing wrong with talking about how we really are. And there's your keyword. You don't really need to pay attention to some of this stuff because this is what's going to go on her website. This is stuff that I don't usually do. Excuse me, I'm getting a drink real quick. But again, I'm doing a couple of paragraphs here. Again, just kind of an intro to the episode here. And then I put in today's episode I discuss or I talk about, I share, again, whatever verbiage makes sense for you. Again, this is where I use the keyword, key phrase, which I'm doing talking about how we really are. And I just did like the title. Some titles are a little easier, like if you're wanting to use like your exact title as your key phrase, keyword, whatever, can be a little more difficult to put into your writing content. So again, just kind of play around with it. But yeah, so I try to add that in. Like I said, hers has usually 2 to 3 paragraphs as well. And then again, I like to put the title in that little blurb there. And then again, I do this is a pretty short episode, so I only have like 3 takeaways. But again, resources and links, how you can connect with her. If you have any related episodes that you want people to tune into that you mentioned in the episode, or if you just want to share ones that might be similar, you can link those as well. And then again, we also do more about the show description. And this again will just be on the full show notes on her website. But yeah, that's pretty much like the format I follow for all of my clients. I really like that, seems to work well. I feel like again, you don't want to have it be super lengthy in I'm going to stop sharing for now. That will show up in like Apple or Spotify, like any of the players. Because again, people are going to be looking at those on their phone and they don't want to like scroll down and just see all this text, all these paragraphs, because that can be overwhelming. So usually a couple of paragraphs is good. And then like I said, I really recommend doing some kind of like key takeaways, key bullet points, anything like that. That is super helpful. And like I said, just make sure that is where you want to include, like I said, all of your resources, links, anything like that. That is the place. Like I said, you want to be talking about them in your episode, but you definitely want to have any and all of that in your actual episode description and show notes on your website so people can click on. So even if while they're listening to the episode, they can click on it, or when they're done listening, they're like, oh, hey, I want to go follow her on Instagram, or I want to go check out her offer that she was talking about, like to sign up for coaching or whatever it is, her membership. So anyway, you want to make sure to include all of that. A tool that I wanted to share that I really like using right now. Let me share my screen here one more time. Okay, looks like I'm sharing, so hopefully I am. I always get a little paranoid. Let me bring it up here real quick. It's called Cast Magic. You do have to pay for it, at least for a certain amount. So you might be able to get it for free. I'm honestly not sure, but I am paying for it. I just started about a month and a half or 2 months ago, and it's really good. But you can actually upload your audio, and it gives you, let me just show you an example. Once you input like your speakers here, if you're only doing solo episodes, you'll just have to input it once, and it'll give you a lot of AI content, or it's AI generated, but it'll give you episode titles, ideas, keywords, bios, and intro. timestamp, it is super helpful. I really like it. It gives key takeaways, key like quotes, and I'll do quotes for some client. I'll pull like quotes that they can put in like a social media post, and I also pull audio clips as well. It will give me an idea here, and I can go back into episode and find those. So super helpful. So anyway, that is a really great tool. I do recommend. One other one I do like to use is Descript. And I definitely do not use Descript for all that it can be used for. I mainly use it for um, just to like transcribe the show notes, and that is really helpful as well. Yeah, I will say I haven't been using it as much lately, but for the episodes I'm just doing show notes writing for, I'm not doing anything else. I'm just listening to the episode to solely write show notes. I do use Descript for. I probably could be using Cast Magic for that. Because I do pay for both of them. Descript is less than Descript is like $15 a month. Cast Magic is I'm paying more like $40 a month, I think. I do use it for multiple clients though. But it's really cool. Like I said, this is you can pull quotes from as well, audio clips, anything like that. And it's super helpful. So just wanted to show you that. Those are two of my favorite tools I like using um, for show notes writing right now. So let me see. I know it's kind of a lot because I know there can be, I don't want to like overcomplicate it or anything, but I really just kind of wanted to show you, like talk about best practices and kind of show you like how I do it for things. Just kind of my process and kind of what it looks like, the format and that kind of thing, kind of like the anatomy, so to speak, what it can look like for writing show notes. So I hope that is helpful. If you have any questions, depending on which host platform you're using, whether it's Buzzsprout or Captivate, and then your website as well, that's where it can be a little different with some of that stuff as far as like inputting them onto your website. That can be something that trips people up. But and so I should say, don't stress about that too much at first. Just make sure you're having a quality description show notes in for each episode that will be showing up, like I said, in the players like Apple, Spotify, that people can see. Because again, that's where people, they're listening to podcasts on their phone. Again, you don't want it to be like overwhelming. You just want to have like, again, kind of some key points, a couple paragraphs, whatever. And then like I said, those key takeaways I think are really helpful. So if I missed anything major, hopefully I didn't. But if anything it like does not make sense, or like, hey, you didn't cover this, please let me know. I definitely want to know how it's going, where it's at. And definitely if you want me to look over like whenever you are working on your first episode, like your show notes for your first episode, I'm happy to do that and give feedback as well. So you can definitely post that in the Facebook group. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions or anything. And I'm excited to keep going. The next module after this one, the next video, will be actually submitting your show to the platforms like Apple, Spotify, YouTube, that kind of thing. And a lot of it can be done from your host platform, which is exciting. It's kind of simplifies things anyway. So I will be going over that with you for the next video. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, I will talk to you soon.